What does it actually take to start college at 15, and what are some things that you can focus on so that you can get the most out of such a program? Maybe you're starting college at 15 because you want to save a ton of money and graduate without any debt. Maybe you want to be in a student body that is more mature. Maybe you want to be in an accelerated program where you can learn faster. Maybe you want to avoid repeating high school topics, or maybe you just want the experiences that other regular high schoolers will not have. Maybe it's research in a lab, maybe it's conferences, or maybe it's even internships. Now, I started college when I was in my second year of high school, and the program that was in was called FAU High School. And at FAU High School, students from 10th, 11th, and 12th grade of high school in the United States, they start college courses, and those college courses will count for their high school and their college requirements simultaneously. To answer the question what it takes to start college at 15, I will break my answer into 3 parts: internal, external, and continuation. Let us start with the internal phase, or as I like to think about, the personal skills phase. Now, this is itself broken into its own parts. The first of these is self-discipline. This is not only the self-discipline to study in the most effective way possible or to learn as quickly as you can, but it's also the self-discipline to expand your perception of what is possible and also to step out of your comfort zone when it's required so that you can achieve what you want. It's also the self-discipline to make the right decisions. So in this case, you might read a book called Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman. Basically, it's making the right judgments, knowing what you want, how to get what you want, and then finally executing on taking action towards those goals. The second part of this is having a self-starter attitude, taking initiative, if you will. So just to give an example, if I am in the program and I see that, there's this other concentration or major that I'm interested in and I want to pursue that besides the one I'm already pursuing, then I'm looking at entering a double major. Now, it's very likely that no one of any advisors or administrators is going to reach out saying, hey, I think this second major would be a good fit for you. Would you like to sign up? That's likely not going to happen. And so in that case, I need to have the self-starter attitude in order to look into the program, figure out if I'm even interested, and then figure out what paperwork, what people I need to speak to in order to get this process done so that I can have a double major or study for one. This is really important because without it, then you could be aware of all of these opportunities that you want to pursue and you want to explore, but not have the opportunity to actually do so because you didn't step out of your comfort zone and you didn't have the initiator attitude of making that first leap. Also, part of this internal phase is to have a really strong desire to improve yourself and be somewhat okay with the fact that your job market competition is mostly going to be older than you are. To give you an example, if I start college at 15 and I finish with my degree at 19 years old, then at that point, if I start looking for a job, I'll be competing with, the fresh graduates who are usually 21 or 22. And it's really about having a self-confidence, but not arrogance, a self-confidence that, expresses to the employer and expresses even to myself that I have the skills, I have the experiences, I have my degree, and I am at least equally qualified to compete for this position. Now we move on to the second phase, the external phase. We're going to cover 2 points of which are very closely linked. And the first part of this is being good at giving the system what it wants. The system meaning the FAU high school experience, the program. Examples of this might be volunteering for plenty of hours, like hundreds of hours. This might be participating in impactful research, publishing, presenting, having a belief in a good GPA, having a belief that a college degree is important, having a belief that academic achievements are important, that they matter. Being good at giving the system what it wants leads to a couple of things. First is that you'll have a degree of certainty that you'll be able to stay in the program itself. And second, you'll be in a sort of feedback loop. So you'll be, let's say, for example, I pursued an honors degree in my major. And as part of that, I participated in research in a lab for several semesters. I kept my GPA, my grades to a certain height, and I also presented my research at a small symposium. And that led to the reward of getting some honors chords and also having the words written out on my transcript that I have honors in the degree. What this feedback loop can do is that you do things that the system wants to see, and then this goes to a reward, and that reward motivates you to do more things that the system wants, and it just kind of goes in this reinforcing loop. You can read Thinking in Systems, that would explain the feedback loop. Related to being good at giving the system what it wants is to master personas. Mastering personas is all about selecting the right versions of yourself that fit with the situation you're in and fit with the people that you're talking to. To give you an example, let's say I'm 15 years old again and I'm interviewing for enrollment at FAU High School. And let's say I'm the type of person that plays 8 hours of video games on the weekends. That is not a point I want to emphasize in my interview, and I probably won't even want to mention it. I'm not going to lie about it, I'm just not going to say anything about that. Rather, if it is true, I will want to emphasize that I spend 2 hours on the weekdays after school helping the local community hospital. Another example of this is that if I am again in my interview and I happen to be a person who studies highly inconsistently, highly chaotically, and yet highly effectively, that I am inconsistent and chaotic is not something I'm going to want to add to the equation. Rather, I'm going to want to emphasize that I am effective. Without mastering personas, without learning to recognize certain situations and learning to apply the right version of yourself to that case, it becomes very challenging, very difficult to move ahead or to achieve anything that you want. You could say that mastering personas makes your life easier. More specifically, it makes it easier so that if there's someone trying to decide your fate, like whether you're going to start college at 15 or whether you're going to get the chance to graduate at 19, it makes their calculations, their decision much easier. So master personas and learn to spotlight the types of things that are true about you that are going to help you get what you want. Now we arrive at the continuation phase. The first part is knowing when enough is enough and also knowing when to push yourself. Now at FAU High School, competition can be quite high, and also the frequency with which you compare yourself to others is or can be quite high. And there's this book called The Courage to be Disliked, and in one section of it, it recommends that we don't compare ourselves to others. And so we should do this as little as possible. Now, if you're like me, this will probably happen to you, where you're, looking around, seeing, this person achieved whatever, and, where am I at? So some things to keep in mind. Find the pace and activities and the course schedule that work best for you. You don't want it to be too relaxed. You also don't want it to be where you're, just miserable every single day. But you want it to be somewhere in the middle, somewhere where there is growth space, somewhere where you can improve yourself. The next part in our effort to sustain our way through a program in which we start college at 15 is to make things interesting for ourselves. Now, this is going to be very subjective to each person, but here are some things I enjoyed personally. So one of them was visiting faculty office hours, and this was mainly to ask questions on the course material, and in some cases it went beyond the course material. So that meant maybe follow-up questions or even side conversations. And it was just really interesting because I just really enjoy when I get to talk to someone who has more experience, who knows more, and who has different perspectives. It's just, it's quite refreshing. And then another point of this effort is maybe, there's like productive workspaces. So maybe there's a coffee shop, maybe you work in the library some days. You just kind of mix it up so you're in a new environment and you feel like, everyone around me is productive and quiet. Another area that might be exciting or interesting is new stationery. So maybe this is every academic year, or maybe this is every semester that you get new notebooks, new pens, new planner, whatever it might be. Other points of interest might be conferences at which you present your research, or maybe it's some internship at a company that you would really like to work for. And so it's these points of interest that really raise your enjoyment in the program and in a way make it easier to start college at 15. And that is an effort worth pursuing. If you enjoyed these videos, then you'll probably want to check out these other two.